welcome back, and in this video we're gonna have a follow-up from a previous video. It's essential that you watch it before you engage with this one if you're new to Axure or if you're new to repeater functionality, because I'm gonna be flying through all the jazz we already did in the previous video and just trying to add more to it so you know exactly how you can use that functionality to full extent. Now, if you remember from previous video, repeaters are allowing us to make custom grids, custom dynamic tables and panels. Axure does that for you automatically. So you just define, let's say, I want 5 extra items of this layout and just make it happen and then make it like a flexible grid. So in this specific video, we're gonna go a little bit deeper, and the use case for this, what I wanted to cover to you, is basically we're gonna create a repeater functionality, maybe a grid, like a list of different employees this fictitious company has. So maybe we have at the moment 3 different employees, and what I'm gonna show you how to do is how to add additional one using that same layout dynamically. So it's not, you know, just a static dynamic panel which appears because you clicked one button, which you predefined, but it's gonna have a dynamic content, dynamic data set, and you know it's just gonna be as advanced as you want it to be, given that you have a time to experiment on it and do extra work. So let's go ahead and just recreate this existing bits in Axure and create a repeater as before. Boom, so as you can see, I imported most of the items. What's left is an actual card which we're gonna use as a repeater template. So before we do that, if you remember from my previous video, I would just drag in the repeater like so and just leave it there. If you click in, you can then edit the functionality inside. So I'm gonna go ahead and just take in all those items we have already defined in Sketch and just copy it in. Again, you can do that in Axure too. You don't have to design it purely in Sketch. It's really up to you how you want to address this. I just like to do this type of workflow because Sketch allows me to quickly do that, even if functionality is also existent in Axure too. Boom! And now we can just adjust the bits here and there, and we're gonna have our repeater. What I'm gonna do next is just label these text fields, because that's where our different information is gonna go. So I have 3 text fields. So I'm gonna give this one, let's say, name and ++ of course. UX designer could be ++ row and then ++ team. So I have 3 different fields what I want to update when I add new employee. And if I close it, you're gonna see that we have 3 repeaters. Now they're not really styled well. I wonder why is that. Let me just actually click in and see why is that and why the overlap actually happened. I think it's because when I copied it, it misplaced. But if I just try to blend it into that dotted line like so, that's much better. As you can see, it added 3 by default. If I just go ahead and edit it in the style column and say this is okay, we want to wrap it to make it a grid. Per column is 1 item. Okay, let's say 5 items, and we gonna space it so the row, so we add some sort of 5 pixels or so. It's quite lean. And what we're gonna do next is we're gonna define this information so that, let's say, every time the page loads, it's always random, or let's say different names which are fed into a repeater. Because if I preview right now, you're gonna see that it's all Peter Johnsons. They're using the same template and the same information, which is not great. We could just have copied that 3 times without making dynamic, and it would be the same effect, right? So what I'm gonna do is just, I'm gonna define columns. So one is gonna be name, and maybe just add, I'm gonna say C name. And why I'm doing C is just so I know it's a column value rather than our text field value, which was ++ name. And C, let's say row. And then I'm gonna add another column, which is gonna be C team, just like so, right? And in name, I'm gonna say Peter Johnson, and define every single value for this. be creative. If you're doing this the same and you're replicating the same stuff, just be creative. Boom. And as you can see, I have these values defined, but they're not going to appear automatically yet. If you remember from previous video, we need to define the set on item load type of thing. So as you can see, set text is by default there. We're just going to go ahead and in our repeater select, let's say, name. So if you select that A name, Peter Johnson right now, and it's automatically selecting C name from our item. As you can see, it automatically pre-filled. How cool is that? And then we can add another action, which is set text. And again, select now team. And for team, it's going to be a bit trickier, but if we go to functions and just delete that value, insert variable, and from repeater, we're going to select item.ctTeam, which is our internal variable, local one. As you can see, our teams got updated. 2 are experience design, 1 is delivery manager. And lastly, we need to change the roles. So again, set text and role. And if we can change it to, again, add value C role, item C role, as you can see. Boom. Now we got updated and it fits our data set, which we defined just now, like so. And if we preview, you're gonna see every time we load it, the values are like this, instead of just having, I think it was Peter Johnson UX for all of it. That's pretty good, right? Now what we can do next, and what we plan to do next, is to add new employee. This is really interesting, because in this case, we are going to use interactions to pre-populate the data set to change the text. Now bear with me, every time I click on this button, what I want to do is to, let's say, show a lightbox of sorts, which has name, team, and as well as the role. Click save, and then pre-populate the repeater with that functionality using the same exact structure. And let's speed it up because it's all, I'm gonna use the same components. Boom, so I defined this layout. I have a couple of fields. One is a selection field, like a drop down. And I'm gonna go ahead, just select all the items and create a dynamic panel and call it, let's say, modal add new. I'm gonna hide it by default. And now every time I click on add new employee, I'm gonna add interaction as usual on click and show hide and just select modal add new, and we can actually fly it in. So maybe it's slides down, let's say in 400 milliseconds. I'm gonna bring it to front as well, so it's always on top of all the objects, just in case we add something else. And let me show you that it actually works, hopefully. So repeater works, boom. As you can see, it just slides down, but it doesn't behave like a lightbox. So what we forgot to do is in more options, select it to treat it like a lightbox, like so. And we can also select the overlay color. So let's make it a default like that. And now it should actually work. We're just not gonna be able to close it. Boom. As you can see, it works pretty well. Ideally, we should actually center it, which you can do basically by pinning it to browser. Boom. As you can see, it's pretty good. It's okay. It's not too bad. What interesting bit is gonna be taking in the values from the lightbox and then pushing it into a repeater. So this is how it's gonna be like. I'm gonna go ahead and go inside and just give it a name for every text field. So this is gonna be like input name, input role, and then input dropdown. And it's because we have so many different variables, I mean, so many different items we name with role, team, yada yada. We just need to add some sort of prefix so we don't get confused. Once we click add, we're gonna do this. We're gonna say on click. We're not gonna add any validation at this point. You can do so. If you refer to other videos, there are like a lot of different things you can insert, like a gatekeeper saying if its field is empty, don't do this. If it's, bad, don't do this. If it's full, pass the value. But refer to previous videos in this playlist and you're just gonna, you can master it if you want to. I'm not gonna do it, I'm just gonna pass it with an assumption that users are always gonna pre-fill the values. Repeater actions, as you can see, it's like a specific, there's a lot of different items here, right? You can do a lot of different bits. We can add filter, remove filter, set current page, set items per page, add rows. And what we're looking for is the add rows functionality, because that's gonna basically add another item underneath. So I'm gonna click that. I'm gonna select our repeater, and then I'm gonna add a row. And as you can see in this add a row, we can then modify it, and we can add different bits. Now, because we want to capture what we enter in these fields, we can just then be like, and we can add a local variable. So let's say lvar equals text on, and we're gonna select these input fields values. So lvar1, let's say lvar1, which is name, just so we know, is gonna be text on widget, and we're gonna select input name, and then add another one, lvar2, let's say it's gonna be role, text on widget, and we're gonna select role because what's in the role input field. And then lastly, lvar3, which is local variable 3, it's gonna be team, and we're gonna see not text on widget, but the selected option off. And then as you can see, it pre-fills because we have just one drop down in the whole page. Boom! Spectacular, isn't it? So we selected all those different local variables, and now all we need to do is just literally say lvar1 name, just keep it case sensitive, kaboom, and that's gonna insert whatever we pre-fill here. And for the role, same idea. We can just basically take the same definition. I don't think I should have defined it here as I see it now. That's fine. We can just define it in this one, and we can just say to role and then select role again. And then here we would just say case sensitive role. Make sure you spell it right, and boom, it's gonna add whatever is in the role field. And the same for this last bit, which is third, and it's team within that organization. And let's select the option of input drop down, and lvar3 team, shebang, boom. All these pre-populated with these different actions once we click add. If we click OK, now we hope for the best. Let's see if that works. We also should actually close this panel. So I'm gonna add another action, which is show hide modal, and just hide it. Let's slide it down, but really smoothly like so, and see if it actually works. Add employee. Let me enter my own name. Oh, let's say Alec, UX lead. Select team experience design team. Click add, and boom, we are added. As you can see, I can add as many as I want now, with a caveat that it just overlapped the button. I know that the button to add is now down there. So what we can do there is, let me just exit this and add another action and just say, we just need to basically move that block. So let me just say move. I don't know if I named the button. No, I haven't. So I'm gonna say add button, and just move it with that thing. So let's say we're gonna select our add button, kaboom, and we are gonna move it, let's say by, we can move it, let's say down below, so we can move it by every time, let's say, if you know specifics of that card actually. So let's say, let me see how tall it is. It's 121 pixels. So we can basically say on add, move button by 121. So every time we add, it's just gonna be moved down. Actually, let's see if this does work. Who knows? So if we add an employee, now we're just gonna do mumbo jumbo and experience design team. Boom, it added and it placed the button down below. And if we add another one and we edit it, you can always empty the input fields after you click on add. Just don't forget to reset. Boom, it's gonna add another one and another one and another one, and that's like, on repetition you can add as many basically items as you wish, and it's up to you really how complex you want to make it. So this is how you use repeaters to like their awesome extent. You can also set imagery too. It's, you know, I'm gonna allow you to experiment with it. If you have any questions specifically with repeaters or anything Axure related, leave a comment down below, give it a like, subscribe to this channel if you would like to find out more about prototyping, experience design, and everything in between design. And as usual, I'll see you next time.